The What to Read Next podcast helps you build a TBR of future favorite books. In each episode, Lauren and Maine interviews authors and book influencers to recommend books they loved for you to pick up today. If you're an avid reader, always looking for your next great read, then the show's for you. Hi, Nisha. Welcome to What to Read Next podcast.
Hi.
So happy to have you back. So tell us what you've been up to.
Oh my goodness. Since the last time we chatted, I have another book coming out, my second YA book released, and I have a bunch of projects that are in the works. So, and I left New Jersey, which makes me very sad since almost all of my books are set in New Jersey. I'm back in Pennsylvania, which is actually where I grew up. So, that is a lot, but it's all good stuff, which I'm very grateful for.
It's all great stuff that's happening to you. But yes, I feel like someone who also left New Jersey after 12 years, I missed it. And so your book, actually, I read your book this past weekend and I was like transported back to Edison, Jersey City. I was like, oh, this is my town. This is where I live, So thank you for setting your books in Jersey. Just,
you are most welcome.
Yes. So let's chat about Dating Dr. Dill. Tell us the elevator pitch.
Sure. So Dating Dr. Dill is the first in a trilogy about three friends who find love, and the stories are all inspired by Shakespeare plays. Dating Dr. Dill is specifically inspired by Taming of the Shrew. And in 2019, I had gone to visit the Folgers Library, which is the Shakespeare library that has like the largest collection of folios in DC. And I was chatting with one of the Shakespeare scholars there, and we're talking about my favorite plays. And the scholar goes to me, he's like, Shakespeare used to change the language in his plays to kind of suit the audience, because sometimes the audience would be of like a particular socioeconomic group, or it would be something, and he would alter the text in order to appeal to them more. And so I was thinking, like, how interesting would it be to take something that has like these core concepts in it and adapt it to South Asian culture. And so that is when I called my editor and I said, hear me out. I have an idea. And what do you think? Like, what if like Shakespeare gave really terrible dating advice to a bunch of South Asian women who live in New Jersey? And so that is how Mrs. W.S. Gupta started, which is William Shakespeare Gupta, because that's like literally all I can think of at the moment. And that's how she became a thing. And then in addition to that, I have a doctor who doesn't believe in love and a heroine who is obsessed with love. And both of them have been shaped by the relationships of their parents. And they both represent two different ideologies of arranged marriage that have kind of developed as we kind of enter the third diaspora of South Asian culture. And so that's pretty much the setup. And there's lots of shenanigans that happen.
There's lots of shenanigans. It was like, I feel like I was reading on the plane and it was like the perfect reading time because I had no distractions, like no phone, no anything. And I just love the fact that it was like, okay, I can't wait to reread this as an audiobook and get immersed in this world. Because there's like the aunties, there's like the whole Dungeons and Dragons storyline. There's like all these different points of different things that happen. Even the meet cute, the SOS, WhatsApp,
Definitely.
All the shenanigans were chef's kiss. Like the aunties, all the aunties, like prototype. Like you're like auntie this, and I'm like, they all serve a purpose. And like the whole idea of like the sister and her big wedding. We have on top of everything else.
So like the aunties are interesting, right? Because they don't exist in Taming of the Shrew. But I wanted to have the feel of a big ensemble cast with multiple different personalities and coming from multiple different directions, because that's what Shakespeare does best, right? The ensemble cast in his comedies. So the aunties were that purpose, and then I also wanted it to balance the story with levity. So yes, Bindu, the sister who is getting married, and in Taming of the Shrew, she serves as the younger sister who's perfect, and everyone wants to marry her. So it's kind of similar personality traits, but that relationship never really gets resolved. And I know that's something that has like irritated quite a few like reviewers of mine, but sometimes family dynamics aren't easy to patch up. And honestly, the relationship at Taming and the Shaming of the Shrew between Catherine and Bianca didn't resolve itself either. And that's sometimes okay, right? That's it happens. And so there's that reality that exists as well in the story. So that is, I think that is like the levity that exists that's balanced with the aunties, who, by the way, are named after South Asian romance writers who are writing today.
Love it. I love this. I love you bring homage to things that matter, you know? Yes. Yes, I love every time we had an auntie exchange where we had like the whole like we got you, we need the bio data, we need this. Like here's platinum subscription plan for all these online dating plans, you know.
They are ruthless. And like the other thing is like a lot of people make assumptions about aunties, right? Like that they married young, they had no jobs, and they stayed at home, and all they do is gossip. And yes, there's quite a bit of that in the auntie community. That's how the stereotype developed in the first place, because there's truth in it.
Yeah.
But what people forget is that like some of these aunties were not like that. Like some of these aunties like came over, and they were some of the first few South Asians working at IBM. They were some of the first few South Asians working to build like tech infrastructure in the US. And so that's kind of something like personalities that I also wanted to bring into the story as well. Like one of the aunties is like a hacker genius because she's been working on computers like since she got married. She came over and that's what she did, and she was very successful. And so I wanted, and although you don't see a lot of them because it really is a romance and it's about Bram and Karina, I really wanted to make sure that like they had a little bit of texture to them as well.
Yes, they're like the little cherry on the top of the story. So let's talk about Prem, because he didn't love. He's a heart doctor, but he doesn't believe in love, and he has all the scientific data to prove it. Like it's not true. Love is a bad thing, you know.
And do you know that stuff is real? Do you know how much research I did? There are people who legit are like, oh yeah, like love and heartbreak and romance is actually toxic to the brain and to the heart. And it's like that is real research that's out there, which blows my mind. But I was fascinated with it, and that's how Prem started.
Yeah, and then we prove him wrong, and then it becomes a romance. Yes. So what are you working next? So tell us all about the rest of the series. What can we expect from them?
Yeah. So Bram and Karina, of course, had their love story. They kind of come to terms. And it's Bram who kind of bends as opposed to Karina. Because in Taming the Shrew, you know, Catherine is kind of forced to be this person that Petruchio has shaped her into. And I hated that concept. So I flipped the story, and I honed in on the three like forms of abuse that Petruchio kind of inflicts on Catherine, and I flipped those in the story as well. And so my plan is to do the same for the other books. The next the next couple that I'm currently working on, well, I will be working on them right now. I'm on a different project, but that I'm going to be tackling next for next year's book is Bunty and Bobby. And so
Yes.
Bunty is Prem's really good friend who is the son of the frozen non like company empire. and he's trying to like step out of that shadow and be like this really impressive restaurateur. And then you have Bobby, who whose parents died when she was very young, and she moved in with her aunt and uncle and her cousins. And she is a wedding planner for the wedding planner business, and she's very good at her job. They call her the fixer because she can go in and she can handle all of the difficult personalities and all of the difficult details that go with a massive Indian wedding. And both Bobby and Bunty have to work together for Karina and Prem's wedding. And so that is the teaser for book 2.
So he's gonna cater after he's been saying that he doesn't cater things.
Well, who knows? We'll see. He's very opinionated about food, so he may not be the caterer, but he may be involved in other ways. And so
yeah, because he has a strong opinion about catering. He's like, I don't
very strong opinions. He's like, I am not a caterer. I am a chef.
Yeah.
That is it. So yeah, that's the next plan. But I'm currently working on my next young adult novel. I kind of flip back and forth. I write a YA and I write an adult romance and then go back to YA. And I'm no longer with Random House. I'm with Skyscape now. And so I'm so excited to be working with them. And the book is actually the main character, the heroine, is a heroine that's part of the Bollywood life world, though.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she has a small, like maybe a paragraph scene in Bollywood life. She has a couple more references in Radha and Jay's Recipe for Romance. And she is the heroine in the Karma Map, which is with Skyscape. And the book is completely standalone. Like you can read it and never have read any of my other young adult books before. But for those of you who have been listening and reading from book 1, it's Tara, who is Jay's ex-girlfriend. So Tara is getting her romance, and there's more to Tara than people could really perceive, like really saw. And so I'm really excited for her book.
Oh my gosh, you just made my day.
I'm so glad.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I love the Nisha verse, like the first universe you're creating.
I am definitely like, I like when all of my stories kind of intersect in some way. I feel like I'm like all of my characters are alive and well when I'm contributing to the same universe. And so I know that this is not always going to be the case. I can't write every single book in the same universe. But for now, I'm doing as much as I can to keep it all together.
Well, you had your billionaire made a cameo in Dating Dr. Doe because I was very excited when I was like, I know that.
That's true. They are. I'm very excited that they are too. So that they had a cameo. So and it was kind of like a thank you to my fans who've kind of stuck with me, because that series has taken a long time to write. So they're still around.
Just like such a good series for those that are listening who have not picked up. So good. If you don't like the billionaire, just give it a try. This is Brown Billionaires, or just give them a try.
They're pretty great. Think Succession instead of like think Succession with like a very strong romance plot.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. That's a good comp. So all right, so let's chat some book recommendations. Do you have any books you recommend our listeners to pick up?
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you, I've been reading a lot of advanced reader copies lately, and I have some great books that I've read, and I'm just so excited about them coming out in the world. So I read Tracy Livesey's book, American Royalty.
Just finished.
It's so good. It's like I think it's Harry and Meghan fan fiction, except the love story that we all deserved and we never got.
Yes.
So,
Yes, with Rihanna as like the main person, you know.
yes, and like Rihanna or like honestly, like I'm thinking more of a Mary J, like Mary J.
Yes.
Blige,
Yes.
and like and a Benedict Cumberbatch
Yeah.
like hero. And so that is the kind of like pairing that I'm envisioning in my head. It's really it's just top-notch romance from Tracy Lewis. Then there's the diverse historical that's coming out with Adriana Herrera called A Caribbean Heiress in Paris. Have you read that one yet?
No, it's on my list. Actually, I'm waiting to come out because I'm savoring my historicals, and I'm like, a part of me is like, I just need to request and just binge it outright, you
Oh
know,
my
because
God,
that's
it is
Ariana for me.
so good. It is just so good. It's like it's sexy and also really like deliciously complex, and it takes place at the World's Fair. It starts in the World's Fair in Paris,
Mhm.
and there's like a sex club, and there's a hand flex, and there's just like such amazing like nods to classic romance and classic historical romance, and also just lots of sexiness because Adriana Herrera writes very sexy, and you
Yeah,
definitely get that in her books. So
yeah.
those two are ones that I read and I loved. And then of course, I have not read it yet, but I just got the ARC in the mail, and it is The Wedding Crasher by Mia Sosa. So I'm ready for Mia Sosa's book. I cannot wait for Mia Sosa's book. I'm waiting for it. I'm ready for it. I'm wondering if I should do a reread of Worst Best Man first. And then after I do that, then I'll jump into The Wedding Crasher. I know that you and I talk about mafia romance all the time. And I know you're expecting a mafia romance recommendation for me.
Yes.
So my mafia romance recommendation is Mila Finelli's duology. Have you read
Yes.
it?
I have heard about it. Somebody else recommended it to me. I don't remember who it was because I talked to a lot of authors, but they recommended Mia Fernandez. I think it was Diana Quincy who recommended it to her. Like she was like, "You
Oh
need to
my
read
God.
this," you
It will
know?
blow your mind. It is like Mila Finelli understands mafia romance,
Yeah.
like a true mafia romance reader,
Yeah.
and she's like incorporates all of those wonderful delicious id points into her books. It is a duology. Book one ends on a cliffhanger, so you have to immediately pick up book two.
Okay.
It's the mafia mistress and the mafia darling.
Mhm.
And so the covers are beautiful. There's age gap, there's kidnapping,
Yes.
there's like a yacht. Like you have all of your like classic mafia romance.
you,
Like
you had me at kidnapping. I have a thing for kidnapping captive captor. I don't
I
know why.
really, and you know what? Like I've talked to my therapist about it, and there's no answer to it. It's just I like it. So,
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what is about this, but like the whole point of I'm like, I'm all for it. I'm like, give me a
yes,
kidnapping, you
yes,
know?
it's so great.
Yes. Okay. So I'm adding in, I'm like binging arcs right now. So like I finished American Royalty this morning. I read your book out like on the plane, and I'm like, I have Wedding Crasher next, and then I'm just gonna go to Mafia. I think I'm just gonna do
Yes.
the Nisha Sharma's, reading guide. You know?
I have quite a few TikTok videos of like mafia romance recommendations. I think the most recent ones, other than Mila Finelli, I went back and I read through Sophie Lark's series
Mhm.
because Sophie gets a lot of love on TikTok. And every time I see a video, I'm like, oh, I actually want to go back and read that again. So, so
Yes.
I'm a repeat Sophie Lark reader because of TikTok.
Yes, I feel like TikTok is like it gets me like the right, there's certain people who give me the right books to read. Like
Yeah.
I trust your recommendations. There's a couple others I'm like, I trust your recommendations because they're like not hyped up books from like 2015, 2016. I'm like, no, like these books are tried and true, and these are hidden gems that I'm like dying for it,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm really excited that like some of my favorites and some of my favorite authors are finally getting like attention and love and support on that platform, because it's like there's so much noise on some of the other social media platforms, but like Book Talk, like what you're getting, and you can like narrow it by hashtag.
Yeah.
And so like once you follow one person who kind of gives you the book recommendations that you love and you're going to love, like the algorithm will do its work and like will give you all of the other recommendations that you need.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing, because I somehow, whenever I stumble on Book Talk every so often, I get frustrated because then you get like the pirating people, then you get like the ones who are like doing things and you're like, okay, no, that's not acceptable. Or the
Yeah.
thirsty, or the newer, like new book talkers who found some random spicy book that's not really spicy
Oh
at
my
all.
gosh.
You know?
Sometimes I'll hear people talk about like, oh yeah, that's such a spicy book. Like, someone called my book erotica, and I was
No, no.
like, and I'll like read the comment, and then I'll look at my shelf with like Nikki Sloan and Sierra Simone, and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
there's a disconnect here.
Yeah, I think they just assume all romance is the same. I'm like, no, not really, So,
Yes.
uh, awesome. Well, tell us where you can find you online.
So you can find me on my website. That's the best place to find me, www.nisha-sharma.com. And I am on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Nisha Writes, WRITES.
Thank you, Nisha, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me again. I'm so glad we could connect. I always enjoy listening, and I enjoy like talking about fun books that we both enjoy together. So it's always a delight.
If you enjoy this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, rate, and review the show. This is the easiest way to support the podcast. Today's episode's partner is Libra FM. If you're an audiobook listener, then you should add Libra FM as your go-to source for paid audiobooks. Libra FM makes it possible for you to buy audiobooks through your local bookstore. Memberships start at $14.95, and they also have great sales for romance audiobooks each month for $3.99, thanks to the Kiss Club. To sign up for Libra FM, please visit whattoreadnextblog.com/LibraFM. You will receive a free audiobook when you sign up for a monthly subscription. If you purchase a subscription through our link, you will be supporting the podcast at no cost to you. The What to Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Please visit frolic.media/podcast to discover new shows to tune in. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.